Hey everyone, and welcome to our channel. Today I'll be reading The Geek's Reader by Duran Duchess on Tumblr. So let's get into it. Never in one's life had she considered herself to be the outdoorsy type, let alone the type to go to a farm for fun. So, as she was eyeing the entrance of the corn maze, she sincerely regretted even coming along with her nieces and nephews. All they'd done while she was there was go out to different farms and hike on trails. And she didn't know just how long she could endure the torture of being forced to go outside. She sorely missed the hustle and bustle of the city, but mostly, she longed for the tranquil sounds inside her apartment, 10 stories up within the cluster of mid-rise mansions in Asukasa. Every fiber of her being wanted to go home, and the fact that her nieces and nephews had forced her to watch a suspense thriller movie about a man killing women in a cornfield, well, it didn't help her at all. She would say that nerves were all shot, if she were to be honest. Come on, Auntie! One of her nieces yelled out. They were running inside the maze with her map up in the air like a flag. Mayan's eyebrows soared in frustration, as all her plans to the little brats, so she could walk outside the maze with Natsuki to get to the finish line, was blown out the water. Wait for me, Natsuki! It really was a pain for her to have Natsuki as their favorite out of all of them. Not that she'd admit to it out loud. All the other kids would pout and act all sulky if she hadn't said anything about favorites. She had no choice but to follow her bubbly little niece, if only to make sure that she'd be okay. Her eyes landed skeptically on the entrance of the maze once more. Then, she took a deep breath before marching inside and following her niece's joyous calls of, "Hurry up, Auntie!" Only after it felt like hours and a million wrong turns later, mind deduced that she was actually lost. Well and truly lost. Without a map of the damned place. Her arms and legs were beginning to itch from constantly brushing against the cornstalks. And the buzz of the insects within the narrow corridors were starting to grate on her ears. Not to mention, her heart was beginning to race with every rustle she heard. She half expected the same madman from the movie last night to jump out and kidnap her, and the last thought made her hackles stand on end. She had even taken to picking up one of the dead cornstalks she'd passed by. It was flimsy at best, but it would still be enough to get smacked by. She didn't know if it would really hurt, but having something in her hands was better than not having anything at all. And as if fate was tasting the extent of her courage, the leaves behind her began to rustle. It was like that there was someone who was going to step out of the stalks at any given moment. So she immediately whirled around and brandished her weapon. Let cornstalk clopped down toward the left, before bending in half and becoming essentially useless. Still, Mayan held it in front of her like it was a sword. Her heart pounded so hard in her chest, while she waited with bated breath for whatever had been making all the stalks shake and move. And even though she was expecting it, the iron that shot out from the upper girls still made her scream in terror. She didn't even think twice about it. She simply moved in instinct and pure adrenaline before unleashing her fury upon whatever creature deigned to show itself to her. Get away from me! Get away! Creep! Die! With every word that flew out of her mouth, she laid bars that the person was barely out of the thicket. But when she realized that the man was not making any move to grab at her, and was merely trying to shield himself from her makeshift sword, she immediately stopped and dropped her weapon. Or what was left of it, rather. The man looked at her then, his blue eyes slightly narrowed in irritation. His red marks glittered his arms and cheeks. No doubt from the impromptu lashing she had just dealt him. And almost instantly, Mayan felt guilt consume her. I'm so sorry. I thought you were. She couldn't even continue her words. Because even in her own mind, it sounded crazy. Hell, she had acted so crazily. All because of a damn movie. You thought I was what? Wine shook her head, damned about keeping the last few words of their prior sentence to herself. Instead, she bowed down deeply and closed her eyes in shame. I'm so sorry. Please let me make it up to you. She didn't know how she could do so while they were stuck in that infernal maze. But she had to, at least, offer a solution. Your name. What is it? Ellen Wan. The young woman answered softly, before looking up at the admittedly handsome man and trying for a smile. It was shaky at best, and looked more like a grimace than anything, but it was the best she could muster with her girl consuming her. Sounds stretched between the two of them, and slowly, Lion straightened up until she was upright once more. And your name? She almost regretted asking, since the way he looked at her made it seem like he was really pissed at her. But she breathed out a quiet sigh of relief when he answered, Tomioka Giyuu. So, Tomioka-san, can I make it up to you with some coffee? Giyuu mulled it over inside his head, letting his gaze roam over the woman in front of him. The very person who was just giving him a lashing using cornstalk of all things. But he couldn't deny that she was cute, and that he felt a little attracted to her, especially with those expressive eyes of hers. Coffee sounds good. In the end, it took both of them 2 hours to find their way out of the maze. And those 2 hours spent cutting through dead ends to get to the other side had been better than any coffee date that either of them had ever had. And when they managed to exit the maze, it was as hide away in silent embers, as well as Giyu's friends, sitting on opposite sides of the clearing. Dad, aren't you got a boyfriend in the corn maze? Natsuki yelled at the top of her lungs as she eyed her aunt's hand that was still entwined with Giyu's. They had taken to holding hands in there, so that neither of them would get separated from the other, and the tactic worked. Although Mayan had to admit that she did love the feel of Giyu's hand holding hers gently, as if she were the most precious and fragile thing in the world. It made her feel safe and extremely special. So it surprised her when, instead of dropping his hold on her hand, the raven-haired man turned to face her. Tomorrow at 2, I'll be waiting outside Kanami Station. And with that, he gave her hand one last squeeze before letting go of it.